Hello and welcome to this bite-sized session covering the Kaizen activity template, also known as A3 thinking. The Kaizen activity template, or CAT, provides structure to the support problem solving and change. The CAT allows for experimentation and the emergence of ideas as improvement work develops. It's a tool to communicate with others about what is going on and capture all that you are doing for that change. Kaizen activity templates should be updated as you go and should be challenged as you update it. It should bring planned and emergent thinking together, as well as allow improvement to be a team sport by bringing together a small team to tackle a problem. It brings all the lean tools together in one document, as well as helping you to frame your current state and track your progress. This is what a Kaizen activity template looks like, and this template is available for you to download in the KPA's template area on the internet. It's a handy document that fits on an A3 page, and it contains the context, the scope, the aims, the team, understanding your current state through standard operations such as value stream maps, your service user experience, your staff experience, your root cause analysis such as a fishbone diagram or 5 whys, Kaizen bursts or opportunities for improvement, your metrics, ideas for improvement, your actions, and review and reflections at the end. Each section is color-coded to represent the different stages of the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, or PDSA. Now I'll break down each section. The first section is the context area, or the plan path of the PDSA cycle, and plan is coloured purple. I'm going to go through a worked example with you now. Pop the date that you're completing the CAT template. And then pop the sponsor on here. So the sponsor is the person who's overall responsible for this particular work to be a success. It's important also to put their role in there for governance reasons. The process owner is the person who's responsible for supporting the team, getting the team together and preparing for them for this change that will be implemented on their Gembas. Here you pop the department that's affected and also the author of the CAT. The problem statement is the problem that you are trying to solve. So for this example, the problem is if a paediatric trauma patient is booked into CPOD overnight, the patient has to wait until a trauma and orthopedics member of staff comes in due to the lack of experience. Then we'd write the urgency. The urgency is the why it is important to look at this issue. So for this example, the patient is categorised as an immediate life or limb surgery case, and any wait or delay to surgery can lead to functional damage to the affected limb. The interdependencies are important to cover, as the idea that you may implement to countermeasure your issue may result in issues elsewhere. So for this example, the interdependencies are other patients may be booked for emergency surgery on the CPOD list, there may be issues with next day capacity, or if an extra member of staff has to come in overnight, they will not be available the next day. So we now move on to our scope, which is still part of the plan section of the PDSA cycle, and this is because it's denoted by the purple boxes that you'll see on your CAT. Firstly, we define our boundaries, and it's important to note that we do this through the eyes of the patient and/or customer. So for this example, our boundaries are from I am booked for surgery to my surgery starts. Next, we need to define what is in and out of scope, and this provides us clarity to stop scope creep and focusing on the wrong things. So for a scope, for this particular example, we have in scope, which is around the setup of consumables and instruments, ad hoc equipment needed, and delegation of setup roles. But out of scope is the booking process, getting patient ready on the ward, and lastly, sending for the patient. After scope, we move on to understanding the current state, and this is still part of the plan section of the PDSA cycle. Understanding the current state is where we use standard operation tools to capture and analyse the current state. So this could be time observation forms, value stream maps with our Kaizen bursts on there, or opportunities for improvement, or things like percent load charts, standard work combination sheets, or standard worksheets. It allows us to see what is actually happening and what is working well or not working so well. After understanding the current state, you can then move on to understanding your service user experience. You can do this through surveys or directly talking to the customers or patients on your Gemba. So for this example, what is the experience of patients, relatives, carers using the service? We have, I am starved for a longer time with a delay. I'm in pain for longer as my fracture is not reduced with a delay. It is night and I normally sleep at home, not in a strange, scary environment. And then we have my anaesthetic is longer if items are missing and my surgeon has to wait. After service user experience, we can then find out your staff experience on your Gemba. And you can do this in a similar way through talking directly to staff or through a staff survey. So for our example, what is the experience of staff providing the service? I am waiting to starting operating on my patient. My patient needs extra pain relief due to waiting. I ring theatres to ask about the delay. I don't know what implants I need. I'll bring them all to the operating room. I do not feel capable to set up for this case, and I will ring a T&O practitioner. And I have been woken up to come into work and now no longer work in a theatre list tomorrow. After gathering together staff experience, you can move on to your Kaizen bursts. Kaizen bursts are opportunities for improvement and are normally on our value stream maps, but it's ideal to put them here to make it easier for staff to recognise the Kaizen bursts. Here are just a few for the example that we're looking at. We've got things like long walk to operating room, batteries not included in setup, and unable to find Wildcatter. After Kaizen bursts, we need to include our root cause as either a 5 whys or you can replace this with a fishbone diagram. We need to do this as it will allow you to get down to the nitty-gritty and support generating ideas later so you fully understand the root cause of the problem that you're looking at. After our root cause analysis, we can focus on the aims of the problem that we're looking at. Firstly, we need to define the aim. So for example, this one is reduce the time taken for setup and delay for patients and eliminate the need for extra staff to come in out of hours. Here, we also need to talk about what does good look like, i.e. you know when you've succeeded. So for this example, we've got any theatre staff can set up and complete surgery, and also sending for the patient is not delayed by the setup. When completing our CAT, it's really important that we also align this to annual trust priorities. So for this example, we're aligning it with reducing avoidable harm and staff health, well-being and working lives. Next, we look at identifying metrics to see if our planned changes have had an effect on our Gemba. So firstly, we would define the metric, capture the baseline, agree targets, and then confirm how to collect the data. Please note that data should be easy to collect, or this may impact on the success of your Kaizen activity template. So for example here, we'll go through the top row only, is that the metric that has been identified is the setup time and defects. The category that is under is setup reduction. The baseline is 27 minutes and 39 seconds to set up with 6 items missing, which is our defect. Our target is to get that setup reduction under 10 minutes and have a 0% defect target. And how we collect that data is through standard operations and audits. After you've identified metrics, we then move on to our final planning stage, or your final purple box, where we identify the team. The challenge here is to get the right people involved in the work, spot your stakeholders, and make sure that your team is between 5 and 8 people, with 8 being the absolute max. For this example, we have 6, all of whom are key stakeholders for this issue. After you've got your team together, you can start generating ideas for improvement. You can use innovation and creativity tools to generate these ideas, such as 7 ways, be somebody else, and wordplay. For our example, this is the list of ideas that the team have come up with. So you're moving into your PDSA cycles now, where we test the planned ideas and track actions. So for this particular example, there are 2 actions that need to take place. The first one is keep a consumables bag in CPOD, and the next one is new signage. You can see that these actions have been assigned to people, and there's also an expected completion date for when these actions should be completed. After you've done your action stage or your doing stage, we'll move on to our study part of the PDSA cycle. This is where we'll be capturing data, all the metrics, and study the impact of the changes we have implemented. So for this example, we have our two metrics that we've taken before, we have our baseline, and then we have our collective metrics, or our new figure. So for example, we have setup time and defects. So our baseline was 27 minutes and 39 seconds, and that's moved to 10 minutes, whereas our defects had 6 items missing, and now it's gone to 0. And the data collection method is looking at shelves. This is where also you'll find that you might have to learn, tweak, and adapt as you go. Some metrics might be appropriate for some PDSA cycles, but others may not, and you will have to change them as you go through your CAT. After you've completed all those boxes and captured your new metrics, it's time to review and reflect in terms of the ACT part of the PDSA cycle. Here we look at our successes, our key learnings, and what next steps we may have in terms of this particular Kaizen activity. So for this example, we have the successes being they've managed to reduce the setup by 43%, they had great team engagement, and even the surgeon set up himself for one case. The trauma room 5S led to staff navigating the implants quickly and with greater confidence, and there were 0 call-outs for T&O staff. Their key learnings were around PDSA cycles, giving great structure to improvements, and often the most junior staff come up with the most significant ideas. And their next steps are to further reduce the lead time and spread the learning to other areas within the department. Remember, these reviews and reflections don't need to be lengthy, but they need to be meaningful and impactful for you guys and your team. So in summary, Kaizen activity templates allow you and your team to think and document work and tackle those complex challenges that might not need improvement events but need some structure when it comes to looking at ideas and implementing them on the Gemba through PDSA cycles. It develops good collective understanding and communicates work easily and supports the development of a culture of Kaizen on your Gemba. It allows you to apply the principles of daily Kaizen, encourage staff to generate ideas for improvement and coach them through the implementation. As a result, this will improve your service. And remember, small changes make huge impacts.